What if I told you that the most painful moment of your life, of your past, could become your greatest source of strength? And you can make this change even tonight. So here's the biggest problem most people don't realize they have. Right now there's a story about some event running in the background of your mind that's literally creating your reality, your story. And if it's the wrong story, if it's a story about failure, about rejection, or not being good enough, it's costing you a wonderful life with happiness. It's costing you the money you want to make, the relationships you want to have, and even maybe the confidence you want to have in life. And most people are not aware that this backstory is running their life. So let me tell you a story about a CEO who almost let the wrong story destroy his entire life. So there was a man who took over a failing company that was losing $300,000 every single month. For 18 months, he worked 80 hours per week. He barely saw his family and sacrificed everything. And you know what happened? He turned the company around. Revenue went up 400% and they went from losing $300,000 a month to losing $10,000 a month. But then the parent company called him into a meeting room. 3 people in expensive ties looked at him and said, "We would expect you to turn around this company completely. You are still losing money. You are fired. You have failed." And here's where everything went wrong. This successful man made that word mean something about who he was as a person. He kept thinking it over and over again. I failed. I couldn't save the company. All those people trusted me and I failed them. I am a failure. And the shame ate at him. He started drinking to make the thoughts go away. But they only got worse. His whole life fell apart because he believed he was a failure. But then, 7 years later, his son discovered the truth. At the business conference, his son met someone from that same company. "My dad used to run your company," he said. "Oh, your dad? He was amazing. He saved our company." "Huh? What do you mean?" the son asked. "Now, I will tell you. The parent company fired him because we are getting too successful. We were competing with their main business. So they got rid of him to protect their profits. We sued them and won $100 million. Your dad turned us from losing money to making money. We are worth $500 million now because of what he did." And then his son realized his dad didn't fail. He succeeded. But his dad destroyed his entire life because he believed the wrong story, right? So let me break this down for you, because understanding this could literally change everything in your life. Because something happens and then you create a story about what just happened and assign a meaning to it, right? And that meaning then triggers an emotion, which then drive your actions. And your actions drive your results, right? So in the event, you may have had no choice. But in the story and the meaning of it, you have all the choice you need. And this is exactly what Neville Goddard taught us when he said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to what happens to you that matters. Neville understood something most people will never discover, because you cannot always control what happens to you, but you have completely control over what it means to you. And here's the part that's going to change everything for your life. You can go back and change the meaning of things that happened years ago. You can turn your biggest nightmare into the best thing that ever happened to you. So Neville called this revision. And revision is one of the most powerful techniques for transforming your life, because you can rewrite your story, rewrite your past by choosing new meanings for old events. And I'm not saying that you have to deny what happened in your past, but only choose what it means to you, what happened in your past. So let me tell you another story that proves this and why this is so powerful. Just a couple of months ago, I met a young man, Alex, and he was 26, and for 10 years, since he was 16, he would be hearing voices in his head, telling him he was worthless, that he should hurt himself, and that he was broken, he was a failure. The story he had been telling himself for a decade was, I am mentally ill, I'm dangerous, and everybody hates me for it. And you know what happened because of that story? Alex started drinking to quiet that negative voices inside his head. But the alcohol only made everything worse. He would lose control completely and totally black out from moment to moment. And after a certain period of time, he became afraid of himself. Afraid of that he might lose control and would hurt others. And therefore he was spiraling into a darkness that felt like it would swallow him completely. His fears were so big that he chose to run and hide. But when I looked at Alex, I saw something completely different. I said to him, Alex, what if those voices aren't a sign that you are broken? But what if they are a sign that you are incredibly sensitive to energy? What if your ability to hear what others can't hear is actually your superpower? What if your experience with your mental suffering doesn't make you a dangerous man? But instead, what if it makes you the perfect person to help others who are going through the same thing in their life? I can see you there on stage one day, sharing your story with thousands of people who need to hear your story, that they are not alone in their life, that there is a way to go through the darkness. For the first time in years, Alex's whole energy shifted. Because instead of I am worthless, he heard the voice, I could literally help people, right? So the same experience, completely a different meaning, completely gives a different outcome and a different future. So here's what I want you to understand. Right now, there is probably some painful event from your past that you have been using as an evidence that you are not smart enough, not worthy of success or worthy of love. But what if your biggest failure was preparing you for your biggest success? What if your story you have been telling yourself about why you can't have money or you can't have love or success is just a story, and you can write a new one starting today? So here's your homework. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to think about one painful event from your past that you have been using as evidence that you are somehow limited or broken. And then ask yourself, what if this event actually happened for me instead of against me or not to me? And what if this experience is actually one of my greatest strengths? And then feel what it would be like if that new meaning were true to you. How would it change what you think is possible for you? Because here's what I know for sure. Your past doesn't determine your future. Your story about your past determines your future, right? And you have the power to write a new story starting right now. The question is, which story will you choose? The one that keeps you stuck or the one that sets you free? The choice is yours. It always has been. So keep up the good work and remember, your biggest wound could become your greatest gift. You just have to choose to see it that way. So love you guys and see you in the next video.